You know, I think it's kind of growing up. My parents are immigrants, were immigrants from India originally, and coming to Canada and sort of being coming from a different kind of background. When I was growing up, there weren't a lot of East Indians around when I was growing up, so it was for me. I was unusual being in the music scene, showing up at gigs with the long hair and the earrings and a guitar and being the only Indian dude ever in a band ever. Like it was, so I think that was it was an interesting hurdle. It kind of made me maybe made try a little harder, right? Because I wanted to, I really loved Western culture, like, and music. And so I think that the biggest hurdle was trying to get into that because I didn't kind of wasn't exposed to it at home. I go back home and my dad be listening to, Ravi Shankar or some Indian music at home. So I wasn't, it was just something I had to learn to adapt to. And I think that was a good hurdle because, as I said, it made me try harder. And
Listen to the vibes.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I have a treat today because from the beautiful losers, I got Brett and Raj here, and we're going to get to know them and talk about some music they got out now and are fixing to be released. And anyway, before we get into the conversation, I guess we'll start with Brett. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hey there, I'm Brett. I'm coming to you from Mill Valley, California right now. I'm one of the beautiful losers, and we're real excited to be talking to you today.
Thank you.
Got a new album coming out, and I hope we can talk about it.
And Raj, how about you?
I'm Raj Ramayya. I'm here at Strawberry Hill Studio in Marin County, Belmarin Keys. And yeah, we've got a new album coming out, and Brett and I are going to tell you all about our sordid past and our interesting the new album.
Right, or we can let the songs do the talking.
Yeah.
The songs talking. Okay, the stories are all
So, what's the name of the new album?
Brett. You want to go for San Francisco? Is the name?
Yeah, it's called San Francisco.
Yeah, and you have a song on the album called San Francisco, I noticed.
Yeah.
You know, before we got started with the interview, without sounding blasphemous to my audience, the music has a bit of a Beatle, Beatles kind of sound to it. And you do have a song on the album called "The Day John Lennon Died," and assuming it's an ode to those who have passed in the music world. Do y'all have a that influence from the Beatles, or where did you get your sound from?
Um, I mean, yeah, definitely, we have a Beatlesque kind of sound. I used to, I mean, Brett and I formed originally in Tokyo, Japan, and I was doing a lot of session singing, and I was singing a lot of Beatlesque kind of TV commercials in Japan, for a lot of different brands. And so I'd always get the Beatles gigs, right? It sound like the John Lennon voice or the Paul McCartney kind of voice. And then I kind of realized that that was a great hook, right? That particular way of singing was a great hook, and it was natural anyway. And then Brett and I started writing songs together, and that sort of came out in the music with the way Brett plays and the way we kind of write songs together. And living in Japan, we both lived in Japan for decades, and we're very influenced by the sort of heavily Beatlesque influenced music in Japan, right? I mean,
Sure.
really the Beatles in Japan. So and everybody's got something, yeah.
We remember we started as a cover band actually, and we played a bunch of Beatles songs in our first iteration as a cover band.
Was that like their psychedelic phase?
Yeah, we're doing kind of Beatles grunge in the 90s, right? We were grunging Beatles songs out.
Probably a little more grungy.
Well, I mean, other than the Beatles kind of influence to it, I can't really compare it to anything because it does have its own sound. And the first track on it, "Breathing," I believe is the name of it. That's like my favorite track on there.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, right.
But
that's one of my favorite tracks too. That's definitely more of a rocker, and features a bit. That probably has the longest lead guitar part in it and the most distortion guitar.
Well,
I like that one too.
well, most of it is kind of laid back, a little on the softer side, but very upbeat, I'll have to say. Even the topic that you took on of these people that have passed on, it still had an upbeat feel to it. And the sitar that you have on the album, is it actual sitar or is that guitar effects?
It, well, it's actual sitar. Like I made a library of Indian music when I went to India and just recorded Indian musicians a long time years ago, and I made a library of Indian samples, my own samples that I could repurpose for songwriting. So they're kind of unique samples that belong to me and I use for projects, and so I had those are real sitar players playing on, they're real tabla percussionists and sitar players, and like I said, they're kind of music that I recorded in India, brought back and then reused for repurposed for songs, for songwriting.
Did you ever get to meet Ravi Shankar?
No, you know what? I actually called his daughter Anushka Shankar to play.
Really?
I'm not joking. I did. I actually tried to get in touch with her, and she and her management said she was too busy because I wanted to get her to play because I saw Ravi Shankar and his daughter playing up in Vancouver, and they were like mind blowing. He was so old he couldn't even walk onto the stage. He was at the end of his life, and so they carried him on a palanquin out to onto the stage, and he shredded for like it was like I don't know 2.5 hours of him shredding with his daughter, and then they carried him off the stage after that. It was incredible, incredible. He couldn't even stand, but he could shred for 2.5 hours. So it was
Wow.
pretty incredible. So yeah, so
God, I'd have been in awe. I mean, if you can't even walk, how do you still be able to play like he plays?
Well, it's I think it's something he's been doing since I have a lot of his albums, and it's just something he's been doing as since he was a child. So I think it's just second nature for him. It's like metal. It almost reminds me of heavy metal shredding, right? It's almost like Megadeth or Metallica the way that he shreds on a sitar, and I thought that a lot of I've always told Brett this. I think a lot of Indian music fits well with rock and pop, like the Indian instrument texture sounds really good together, with a lot of stuff that we do, especially with stuff that we do. It
Let's
sounds
see, speaking of the Beatles, we have a version of Across the Universe on our last CD, right? And we had our friend Kalyan play Sarod on that, remember? So we've got Across the Universe with a nice Sarod line on that song.
yeah.
So what was the influence to create this album?
I think that COVID really we kind of started this pre-COVID, but during COVID was, it was a time to reflect on things, and I was noticing that lots of people that I admired, musicians and also friends as well. A lot of people had sadly passed away during these past few years, and we were losing a lot of interesting people in the world. And so I was writing that the day John Lennon died was kind of an ode to all these cool, interesting people that we'd lost during COVID and just before COVID. And I think during COVID, I felt more inspired to write music because you couldn't do much else actually, right? So it was just being, having more time to do things, and more of a sort of a quiet headspace to do things. For me anyway.
Yeah, but also the drive, the motivation to really to push it through and get it done, because we've been making music for a long time, and we have these songs that we've been working on. But yeah, having COVID, it gave us the impetus to put it all together and push it through and get it done.
Yeah.
If I could say one good thing about this whole lockdown, I actually retired before all this happened, and I started doing podcasting full time, and it made it a little bit more accessible to get people to come on the show.
Sure.
Because they didn't have anything else better to do, so I'll talk to this crazy white guy,
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
it's become much more normal now for us to do this, whereas before we might have not done anything like this at all.
Yeah. Well, there's so many good things about technology and not so good things about technology. I will say being able to get on like Zoom and talk to folks, like it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, I've talked to people on the other side of the planet before, and it's nice to be able to communicate like this. You wouldn't have been able to do this back when we were kids, but
Yeah.
at the same time, technology has kind of taken over a lot of the music where it sounds like it came off a computer than other than somebody live in a studio actually playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. People sampling songs that belong to other people and putting a different beat to it and putting different words to it, and it just has no soul to it. What I appreciate is the fact that we have Billy James in common. He's y'all's PR guy, and he sends me music all the time, and I get to sit and listen to a lot of it before it gets released, which is pretty cool. But
Mhm.
the music he sends me, I can almost feel what the musician was feeling when they wrote the music. I can visualize a lot of it, and today's music doesn't have that. So I think this is making a comeback. People actually playing music,
Right.
and I appreciate that. I mean, what's y'all's take on it?
Yeah, I hear that all the time now. People are like, I'm tired of hearing, tired of hearing a loop and someone rapping on top of a loop, right? They
Right.
want more again. I think that's coming back, and
They want to play instruments, and the new thing is that people is like they want CDs again. They want a
that's
physical
crazy,
thing
right?
to have their music on. So yeah, I think it's definitely coming back. I teach guitar, and I have a lot of high school kids, a lot of middle school kids. They've got an intense interest in learning how to play guitar and
Yeah.
sing and express themselves that way. So yeah, I'm hopeful too. At the same time, there are new possibilities to integrate the two mediums together. So we have more digitally produced music and
Mhm.
more, physically produced music. And that's kind of what we came out in this album with. In this album, a lot of the songs, whereas before we were making music um, more just physically with all live musicians. Now we can use a lot more of the technology, and that enables us to create um, with a lot more freedom as well. We can incorporate all
That's
kinds of
another
sounds.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
another good thing about the technology is like especially the prog rock that I'm hearing now. Can you imagine what Pink Floyd would have been able to do with that kind of technology back when they were making like Dark Side of the Moon? I
I,
mean, it's
s-
incredible.
I just saw Roger Waters a few weeks ago at the
Ah,
Chase Center in San Francisco, and it was inspiring. It was really inspiring, and to see how creative they were back in the 60s and 70s, and how that's nowadays it just seems like it's more doable. But back then they didn't have the technology. That was just all new technology. Even the delays that they were using on their guitars were that was a new thing. People say like U2 started the whole delay sound, but actually Pink Floyd started that whole sound with a lot of delay pedals and
Echoes.
sort of ambient effects and everything. So yeah, it was
yeah,
really interesting to see how it's come full circle. And nowadays everyone thinks that that's a normal thing, but it's technology that's caught up, and at that time they were so innovative with very actually limited numbers of things that they could do in the studio, but they came up with incredible sounds. And the concert was a real combination of modern technology and classic um, Pink Floyd rock. So it was a really interesting blend of both of those things together.
yeah. I mean, they would take sounds and press the sound to make different sounds out of it, whereas you can just get on a computer and do it by like basically snapping your fingers. So it is amazing. I will say that part of technology I can appreciate, and the prog rock now is. I'm glad to see that seems to be making a comeback. I hope. Fingers crossed.
Kyle, are you a musician also?
I can play the radio.
Mhm.
I I play a
It's a talent, you know, because it's every time the technology changes, you have to figure out a different way to get your music. You know,
yeah.
it's not always easy keeping up.
Yeah. Where's
But
where's the
this is one thing we discuss a lot now. It's like, how do you get your music? You know, where do you listen to it?
Yeah, I was telling some people, I was asking some people like where because I listen to so much when people listen to Spotify, and I was like, do you realize where is Spotify? Where does Spotify exist? Do you guys know where Spotify exists? Where does Spotify exist? It's a server in Sweden.
Sweden.
Really?
Yes, it's on a server. So if they just decide one day to just turn it off, I mean,
Uh,
that's it. And they're already, I think it's like $300 million in debt. You know, they're working at a yeah, they're losing money. And so if they just decide to turn that thing off one day, just think
um,
about like
Then
your son,
you'd have to go to YouTube.
you have to go
I,
to YouTube. Yeah.
I have to go back out and buy the White Album again, I
Yeah,
guess.
you have to find out.
Yeah, right. I know all your 2 million followers are gone, like gone in one day. I mean, that's the scary part of it, right?
Well, maybe
Everybody,
that's why people they like vinyl and CDs. So they've got something permanent.
that's a
Yeah,
really good point. I think that you're right. That's why people are going like us. A lot of people, and I think Brett's right, want to hold something physical again. Like
yeah.
have,
You actually own it, right?
have something again. It's
Yes.
I like it. I'm regretting not giving away all my CDs when I started streaming music. I was like, I when I moved from Japan here to California, I gave away. I had so many stacks of CDs, and I started. Nobody wanted them. This was like 2010. Nobody wanted my CDs. Nobody wanted them. They're like, nah, we're gonna stream music, and CDs are gone. But now, Brett's right. I have young people wanting CDs again. Yeah, they want to burn a CD of their music, and yeah, and they or they want to have vinyl made, their music made into vinyl.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah, I just interviewed a kid that he's got a band. They're trying to get a contract now. He said that was their goal, was to put their album out on vinyl.
Mhm.
Like I see records at Walmart now,
yeah,
and I kicked myself in the butt because over the years I let a lot of that stuff go, and now I find myself trying to collect it all again, and it's costing me 3 times as much as what it did when I first bought it,
yeah, yeah.
even
My
more.
Yeah, I know my daughter wanted a Billie Eilish album, like a vinyl, but she doesn't have a record player. I was like, what? What do you want to do with this vinyl? She's like, I just want it, Dad. I gotta have it. I gotta have it. Like, she doesn't even know how to put it on a record player, or how to turn it. She doesn't even know what a record player is. She's never even, I don't think she's seen one, but she's never used one before. So, but she wanted the vinyl. So it's saying something. It's saying something to us about that need to have something physical again. You know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
something real. Everything's so virtual these days.
But many cars don't even have CD players. So it's
Yeah,
how are they going to
yeah,
play the CDs when they get them? But
exactly.
it's a constant challenge, you know, because when Raj and I first started making music together, we're going back to the 90s. This was really before the digital revolution.
Yeah.
And at that point, you still had to go into a studio, you know, and
Yeah.
pay a lot of money to have the proper equipment to make a recording that had good sound. So
I'm, I
and the
remember
transitions are just amazing. We've been through.
I remembered Vinny. Remember our engineer, Vinny, one of the engineers we know, Vinny, was talking about being on the floor of a studio, staying up all night, slicing tape with a razor blade.
Splicing tape with the razor
Right.
blade.
Hmm.
I teach music production also, and so I tell the students like the biggest invention of the 21st century is copy and paste, and they're like, "What? Copy and paste?" I said, "Yeah, think about it. You don't have copy and paste like on a computer. You can copy and paste. You don't have to play that perfectly through the whole song. You could just do four
Mhm.
measures, copy and paste it, and you got a whole
Hmm.
song. And it changed. And I think that's to me that's the biggest tech invention ever. Copy and paste, right? Think
Yeah.
about. Remember when we didn't have word process? Remember the analog typewriters?
Oh, yeah.
It saved my life. I was like, what the hell? So copy and paste with the word processor was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
And
Right.
my editing right here on my computers, once I learned how to do it, I could
Yeah.
do it with my eyes closed, basically. And I
Yeah.
think, God, how in the world, as much trouble as I had trying to figure this out, how did they do that when it was actually on a tape?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
They literally chop it out, right? Go down there and
Well,
find the way
that's
and
yeah.
chop it. It's
Well, that's
crazy.
why they were so valued too as
Yeah.
technicians. You know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
engineers. That was a very special role. So now as musicians, we're sort of we have to fill these many of these roles that we didn't before. You know,
Right.
before an artist, just an artist, but
Yeah.
now we have to know how to use the software, all the technology as well.
Hmm.
I mean, it's empowering. Like the software that we use the most is Logic Pro, and before the App Store came out, it cost a couple $1,000s to just to have the software.
Yeah.
And then when the App Store appeared, it was $199 for the same software. And
Wow.
when that happened, it just changed everything because now you have this super powerful, like having an orchestra, you know, and a band at your command.
But the weird
Right
thing
there.
is things haven't changed. It's still 10% of the music, only 10% of the music out there is good. It
This
doesn't,
is true.
it's weird. You get powerful tools, but you don't get powerful people writing great music, right? It's
Hmm.
still, it still ends up being the top 10% are making great music with those tools. More people are
Sure.
doing it, though. More people are doing it, but
Yeah,
it's
we
still,
talked about Billie Eilish before. That's how they made their first album, right? In the bedroom with Logic Pro.
yeah.
Hmm.
And but even for the million people doing it out there, who there's still like not every one of them is making great music, even with great tools, right? You still
Well, that's why we have you, Raj, the
yeah,
Yeah.
great songwriter and
They
lyricist.
they depend too much on the technology, and that's where I say you don't get that feeling, that soul of the music anymore. So how long have you guys been playing?
More than 20 years. So,
20.
yeah, right. So I think it goes back to 1995 when we first, probably our first gig around then in Tokyo.
But yeah, we are both living in Tokyo at the
Yeah.
time, and that's where we started playing in Tokyo. We're both um started a band in Japan. We met through there's a mag classified
Classified ad.
one sheet classified musicians and apartments and stuff like that.
A
Remember those
heavy
days?
metal guitarist looking for band.
Singer looking for metal guitar player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like music
All
news
right.
down at the old music store.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah.
and it was the '90s in Japan. The music scene was pumping.
Mm,
It was crazy, and
We had a lot of
we got
fun.
involved in this crazy scene where there was lots happening. It was just the scene was. I feel like the scene was. I'm pretty sure that worldwide it was happening, but we were in Japan, but it was really pumping. There was a lot of music going on. There were a lot of labels. We had a lot of friends who were musicians, artists performing regularly, and we were in this kind of scene in Japan that was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. Um, Music was big, as you know, in the '90s. It was like we didn't have as many distractions. Like it wasn't video games and music; it was music, right? Music
right.
was the thing. That's what you did. Everyone wanted.
Yeah,
I,
people were
I
into being in bands. You know, you saw just like tons of people walking around with
right.
guitars all over the city.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You'd always see
We
people
like that
walk.
in Austin a bit too.
Yeah,
Did you find that in Japan that they were more gravitating to the more obscure songs on albums instead of the more mainstream ones?
I think.
That in a way, so Japanese, if they are into something, they tend to know a lot about it. To be very maniac, like a maniac. So they would, fans would know the obscure songs, as well as the popular ones of any artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of niches too. So people can be very specific about the genres of music that they like.
Take for example, Quiet Riot. When
Mhm.
when they came out with Mental Health,
Mhm.
their biggest song was Bang Your Head, and over there their biggest song was more of a B-side with Slick Black Cadillac.
Huh.
So that's
Right.
why it made me curious. Is
Yeah.
that kind of the way they are over there, or just kind of a
Maybe, or it
coincidence?
might have been promoted by the record company differently over there. Yeah, because they definitely, in Japan, the record companies will promote the bands in the way that they think will fit, the Japanese audience. Like the Metallica album and Justice for All was renamed for the Japanese release. They renamed it Metal Justice.
Metal Justice.
Metal Justice.
That sounds
That
tough.
would work. I know, I like that.
Metal Justice.
Justice.
Now, Raj, you said that you work on like video game music, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I do a lot of composing for video games and Japanese anime and video
Yeah.
games, stuff like that. So, and have a studio here in the Bay Area called Strawberry Hill Music, and we do a lot of production work with a lot of musicians and voice actors. So yeah, we've been doing that for quite a while now, and yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So we keep that kind of connection to Japan, to Tokyo, to some degree. I'm still working with artists over there, and they've been a big influence on Brett and I on this project. Right, we sort of got our experience in our first experiences like performing musicians on a regular basis in Japan. So I think it's got to play a special place in our heart, and it's the first place we sort of had a fan base, and so I think Japan is important, right, to both of us in lots of ways. And I try to keep in touch with things in Japan. It's not the way it used to be. The 90s were in the 2000s where it was like, it was a very hot scene. And a lot of foreign bands would come and tour there. I think it's changed a lot since then. But I know that the weird thing is a lot of Japanese music is now popular here, which is surprising.
Yeah, it's kind of gone the other way. And Korean music has become really popular in Japan as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of the domestic market and other Asian markets have found their way into Japan.
I never thought. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Sir.
I was just saying that sadly the music that's coming from America, the United States, and Europe is declined a bit in Japan.
Really?
Yeah. I never thought that Japanese boy bands or Korean boy bands would ever be able to make it in the American music market. I didn't believe that when people first told me about that 10 years ago. I was like, that's impossible. America wouldn't be into like Korean boy bands dancing and singing. But here it is. It's arrived.
We walked through, I think it was Walmart, and there was, the poster rack. We got all those posters up. Yeah. So there's this one, and it said, I think, BTS or something like that on it. Yeah. And I looked at my daughter, and I'm like, who are these chicks? She's like, no, that's a boy band. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much.
They're very sweet looking.
Androgynous looking.
I mean, my kids are all in their 20s, but I figured, she's closer to that generation than I am. Maybe she knew who they were. And then she told me it was a boy band. I'm like, okay, I'm really out of touch.
You should go to Walmart more often.
That's what it is. I get my culture from Walmart.
That's a song, man. That's a song. I get my culture from Walmart. I love it.
I need royalties from it, though. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about Japan. The anime has seemed to have really taken a hold here. People are kind of sick of what DC and Marvel's putting out, and they're gravitating to the anime. So we kind of exchange a little bit of culture there.
Yeah. Well, the Japanese, I mean, we've worked with many Japanese artists over the years, and they have such a fine aesthetic sense. They're really, really into the art and put so much care into it. So it's no wonder that people are getting into it and finding it attractive. Especially if you can get over the language barrier. Get translated.
It's interesting how, you're right. It's interesting because I always tell people that the Japanese find a way of absorbing other cultures, taking the best parts of other cultures, refining it, then selling it back to you, right? Mm-hmm. Like the car, right? American invention, right? And then it goes to Japan, they refine it, sell it back to us. And same with anime, which comes from Hanna-Barbera originally, right? World War II, the mangas, and then American cartoons they mixed those together and made animation, Japanese animation. I even had a guy in a curry restaurant, Brett was with me, who tried to tell me that curry was a Japanese invention. I was like, I was like, hold on here. We're gonna have to argue about this one for a while.
Well, yeah, manga comic books, from what I understand, they're selling like crazy, and the rest of them, like your DC and your Marvel, who, I mean, I grew up with Batman and Superman, Spider-Man, all that stuff, and people just aren't buying it, but they're buying the Japanese stuff because the Japanese are catering to the people who want to read the stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's like webtoons. I don't know if either of you seen webtoons yet, where it's like it's digital comic books,
Right.
and you membership, and it's huge now. Everybody, and we're actually doing. This brings us to another interesting thing. We're actually doing an anime music video for our first single.
Right.
So we have an animator making our first single, and hopefully she's going to do maybe another one for us after that if the video turns out. We love it. It's going to come out. We're looking at January, and the story. It's a real anime. She's hand doing this whole thing for us, right? She's designing it and putting it together for us. A young animator here in the Bay Area, so we wanted this kind of anime kind of vibe to the music video.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork from the album is
exactly
from the anime from the artist. You can see it's kind of what it looks like.
Oh yeah, like the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah,
it's suspended in the air.
Yeah.
Tokyo.
Oh wow!
So it's this journey from Tokyo to San Francisco, and it's a story about the dog. I don't know if you're familiar with Hachiko in Shibuya. Whenever you see a TV, you see that big crossing where everyone's crossing. It's always the first image of Japan you always see, right? This kind of like New York Times crossing place.
So there's a place in Tokyo where it's often showed like on TV where you see masses of people going through this 4-way crosswalk, and there are like thousands of people going there at the same time. That's in Shibuya, where Hachiko is, where it's a popular place for people to meet, like who've never met before, or they're going on a date. They'll all gather at this one place. There's a statue of a dog, and the dog's name is Hachiko. And it's a legendary place in Tokyo.
And so we put the dog in the music video, and the story is about the dog going from Shibuya to San Francisco, right? And so she's animating the adventures of this dog, getting drunk in ramen places. And
so I'm glad you're saying that the anime's popular with the kids.
It's worked really well for the gorillas.
Those
videos, I love those videos,
cool.
Man.
Right.
I love the gorillas stuff too. It's like I'm actually working with one of the guys, Kid Koala.
No,
I'm going to see him actually in a couple of weeks, and he's doing a show here in San Francisco, and he's one of he works with Deltron 3030 and the Gorillas, and he's like that too. He does his own animated music videos and stuff like that too, and it's really interesting. That's becoming a thing for a lot of people. And Brett and I talked about this, and we wanted to integrate this into what we were doing because I'm obviously influenced from that because of what I do. And I think that it just projects nicely. The live action videos are always cool, but this is a nice twist on the live action music video, right? The animated video. I think it's appealing to a broader range of people, right? I think.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We have a very young animator working on it.
We love what she's doing.
We love what she's doing. Yeah. So it's like, it's targeted at the younger demographic. And you said we sounded like we're 20 years old singing. So.
Yeah, I did tell you that. I was expecting these 20-year-old kids to be on here. I'm like, hey, these guys are like closer to my age. Cool.
Surprise.
But you're talking about the animation. I mean, we grew up with the Yellow Submarine and I mean, we love that stuff.
Right?
Yeah, I know. What was it? Heavy metal, the one
heavy metal.
Oh, that's a classic.
Yeah, right, with Sammy Hagar and everybody. I mean, I loved all that stuff, and I think, like I said, I think a lot of that stuff influenced the Japanese, and then they took a lot of those influences, put their own manga ideas on it, and then kind of sold it back to us, right? and now anime is big in the US. And as I said, I just see that pattern musically too, right? They're very influenced by jazz and American rock and UK rock, and they brought that into their music, and then now they're selling it back to us, and and BTS as well. BTS is basically Motown. It's like old Motown boy bands, that they've been influenced by, and they've repackaged the Jackson 5 and sold it back to us. Asian dudes, right? That's
Right.
kind of, yeah, that's what they intentionally, it's intentional, right? That's what they're trying, these idol bands, right? That kind of vibe, right? Selling it that but
Well, here in America, they're basically changing things so much you don't recognize it, and a lot of people just aren't into it, and they're picking up the slack.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, man, you mentioned heavy metal. I remember looking at those when I was a kid. I couldn't let my mom know I was looking at that.
Yeah.
Metal
But
magazine.
do you remember when they did the Jimi Hendrix one? I think they drew out pictures for Voodoo Child or
No,
Purple
I'd like to
Haze.
see that though.
Man, I wish they would animate that. That'd be cool. Go back and you could probably Google it. That's another good thing about technology. Remember that old stuff and go and Google it.
Right.
Well,
There it is.
I didn't realize that Jimi Hendrix was in the army. Did you guys? I saw this the other day. I saw a
Yep.
picture of Jimi Hendrix playing in his army uniform.
Paratrooper.
What?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. That's insane. I didn't know that. It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he played with the Isley Brothers and Little Richard, and
Yep.
I
He
mean,
was
the
all over
guy.
the place.
Yeah.
He was doing the whole circuit for a long time.
Aware of that. Yeah, I'm blown away by that. So anyway.
Yeah, we were talking about Jimi Hendrix the other day, and I forgot what the guy was telling me what he remembered most about Jimi Hendrix. And I'm like, you don't have the fondest memories of him opening up for the Monkees? I mean, come on.
Mismatch. Oops.
The biggest mismatch in history.
Never know till you try, right?
Yeah.
Probably the only time he was ever booed off the stage.
Oh.
Really? Wow. Wow.
The biggest mistake. And we reminisce a lot about our childhood, and things that we wished we could have had, or the things that we had that we've lost through the years. What's like the one thing, if you could go back and get it, what would that be? And I guess we'll start with Brett.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, Raj has alluded to the fact that we're both dads now and we have families, and that's something we've been very busy with since our last album came out. So I don't, it's really been a revelation to me, being a father, and my dad left when this is not in my control, but if I could have anything different growing up, it would probably be to have my dad around and see what kind of difference that would have made in my life trajectory. So that's a pretty big ask, but if I'm being honest, that's probably it.
Important, really important thing, man. It's very important. I think I agree with you too. To have your parents around is like the most important thing in the world. But for me, it's like I would wish I'd started music a lot earlier. I think that, music is such a big part of my life. It's everything. I wish I'd started earlier. Like
Learn to sight read.
Sight read and studied, went to conservatory and played piano. I admire people like, wow, it's like, this is, what I mean? When you start, you're 6 years old and you're just like this amazing musician by the time you're 13. And I think that's what I would have liked to go back and change. Just start so young in life and really have that sort of intense training. I meet students that are like, have gone to conservatory and just learned to play piano for 4 years, right? That's all they did. So
Man, that blows mine out of the water. I wanted to go back and get my G.I. Joe.
that too. I'd like to get my old comics. I'd like to get my old comics back. That's what I'd like to get, right?
Man, no kidding. I probably would never have to work a day in my life if I had those old comic books. Man, so Raj, what's been like your biggest hurdle in your life?
You mean musically or
Just in general?
You know, I think it's kind of growing up. My parents are immigrants. Were immigrants from India originally, and coming to Canada, and sort of being coming from a different kind of background. When I was growing up, there weren't a lot of East Indians around when I was growing up. So it was for me, I was unusual being in the music scene. Showing up at gigs with the long hair and the earrings and a guitar, and being the only Indian dude ever in a band ever. Like it was. So I think that was it was an interesting hurdle. It kind of made me maybe made try a little harder, right? Because I wanted to, I really loved Western culture, like, and music. And so I think that the biggest hurdle was trying to get into that because I didn't kind of wasn't exposed to it at home. I go back home and my dad be listening to, Ravi Shankar or some Indian music at home. So I wasn't, it was just something I had to learn to adapt to. And I think that was a good hurdle because as I said, it made me try harder and want to really, and really learn more about this kind of, for me, a new culture, Western culture, and learn how to adapt to it and work with it. And we didn't really have Christmas at home, and things like that. So these kinds of things I'm enjoying with my kids because my wife is really into Christmas and everything. So I think it's overcoming the cultural barriers and learning how you fit into everything. And then ironically, Brett and I both left our home countries, Canada and America, to go to Japan. And then we discovered that again.
Coming
The other
back, yeah.
hurdle, right? Another hurdle. You know,
Yeah.
how do you fit into the Japanese culture? Me and Brett were always, like you said, the Beautiful Losers came from us trying to get into this Japanese music culture, and people looking at us like we're crazy. Like, what are you doing here? Like, what are you guys trying to do exactly? And in a weird way, it kind of worked out for us, and lots of great things happened. We found a lot of friends, and we found a subculture that really embraced us. And I think the hurdles are what make us bigger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Cool.
definitely.
Yeah.
What about you, Brett?
Well, it kind of related to what Raj is saying. We both moved to Tokyo, and part of that for me was about reinventing myself. So the question is, what's the hardest thing I've done, the biggest challenge? And it's
Mhm.
probably just becoming, a musician in the sense that that's what I do. That's what I identify as. And when you're young, and both of us, we went to college and we got our degrees, and that was something that I agreed to do, not because I wanted to be a musician, but because something my parents wanted me to do, and I thought would be good for me in the long run. But how do I then transform myself into a rock musician? You know, so how does one do that? And it's that's been the struggle. Now I live my life, and I play guitar every day, and music is really my life. But how to get to that point, from having to have a day job and pay the bills and do all of those other things in life.
Mhm.
Is that
But
Yeah.
yeah, lo and behold, here we are, all
yeah.
these years later, and it's manifested in a way that we couldn't have imagined, but we stuck to our guns and just kept on with the music because that's what we value.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to stick to it, to stick to making music through good times and bad times, and through everything is just to express yourself and keep doing it and do it for the right reasons because you love it.
Yeah.
Right? Do it for the right reasons, and a lot of people get lost on that journey and get discouraged because they're not whatever that success is,
Yeah, yeah. So it's a constant reinventing of yourself, and I tell this to young musicians too. You have to be prepared to wear a lot of different hats. Whatever's
Right.
required of you. Be flexible. Be willing to say yes. I'll do it. It's like, do you want to play a bluegrass gig? It's like, well, I don't really like bluegrass, but I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
But you never know. You might meet someone or whatever it is. That's just an example. If you need to be a producer, if you need to be a lyricist, if
Yeah.
you need to book gigs, those are all all different hats that musicians need to wear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all becomes part of it.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but what are y'all's biggest fears?
Well, fear. No,
Food insecurity,
that's a really
Raj?
good
No,
question.
no hot sauce.
Yes, the chilies all over the world will suddenly just disappear one day, and then I'll really be in trouble. I gotta have my hot sauce all the time with everything. Um, I guess the biggest fear would be not being able to write music, make music. That would be my biggest fear. If you took that away, it would take a big part of my life away. I mean, I can't imagine living without it. So, I mean, I think that would be my biggest fear. A world without music. A world with really bad music, right? That would be my biggest fear.
Already got that.
We've already got a lot of, it's scary out there. It's not yeah.
Well, there's no such thing as bad music.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just taste.
Just music done badly.
Music badly. There you go. That's exactly music done badly.
As G.K. Chesterton said, anything worth doing is worth doing badly.
Yeah.
Right. So what about you, Brett? What's your biggest fear?
Honestly, for me, my biggest fears are probably tied to my family. No, something bad happening to them. I don't have a lot of concern for myself compared to them, but certainly not being able to have a meaningful life, or that's a fear. And music it's been that engine since I was a teenager that really keeps me going, keeps me getting up in the morning.
Okay, I got to ask you something, but you're gonna have to really think on this one.
All right.
So, someone out there, let's just say they're sitting in their room, they're about ready just to give up on life in general. They've got dreams, but they don't know how to implement them. You've been tasked that you can go and you can sit down and talk to this person, and your words are going to change them. What would you say to change their life around?
Well, I'll take a stab at it if you want. You want me to think about it more?
Hey, when you're ready.
I believe that every person, every individual is unique, and everyone has unique talents and gifts, and that's really our job here on this planet, is to uncover those, discover what they are, and to use them. So for anyone to give up on that, it's really depriving the universe, depriving the world of that unique gift that only that one person has. And to deny us that leaves a hole in a hole in the universe that needs to be filled. So you might as well get to it. And life isn't, there's a lot of suffering involved in life. That's just one of the great truths that we learn to face, I think, as we get older. So I mean, we've got the song "No Pain" on the new album, and we would all like to avoid pain, but pain will always be there, and you're not alone.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Hey, that's just what I was gonna say. You're not alone.
Right.
That's what I would say. You're not alone. There's somebody there out there for you, right?
We need you.
There are other beautiful losers out there waiting for you to help you out. And I think that's what I'd like, I think that maybe getting a little off topic, but I'd like to see people coming together more and helping.
Agreed.
Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of what our scene was like when we first made the Beautiful Losers. Raj and I played in other cover bands before we made the Beautiful Losers, which was an intentional, original project. And the part of what the name came from was that group of people that we had gathered around us, who were kind of, misfits and outsiders, but we all really loved being together and enjoyed, our time, when we play music and go out and drink.
Drink gallons of beer.
Yeah. And we just celebrated, you know, we just celebrated
Yeah,
being together. And that's the beautiful
yeah,
news.
yeah, exactly. It was a very, very, very fun and a very interesting scene. And it showed that people from all sorts of backgrounds, we could get together and really enjoy each other's company and find something common. And I think that's what's missing now. People are trying to find what's wrong with everybody instead of finding
Yep.
what's right. Let's
That's
find what's
right.
right.
That's right. It was, yeah, kind of unique because it was very, you just never knew who would show up.
Yeah.
In Tokyo. It's so international. There's just people coming from all over the place to the city. There are 30 million people going through that city on any given day.
Wow.
Population.
So it's characters after character after character.
It was really wild. It was
Yeah.
really wild.
Well, you know, I've always said music seems to be the one thing that can bring people together. Back, you know, back in the 50s and 60s,
Mhm.
they would actually separate the room. You'd have white folks on this side, black folks on this side, and you weren't supposed to dance together or mingle together. And there were times that they would just take the ropes down and people would come together anyway. And it was all because of the music.
That's what people do, man. You can't stop them from doing
Yeah.
that.
Can't stop people, yeah, and you shouldn't. And you should. I mean, I think this. Brett and I talked about inclusivity, right? Being that everybody should be welcome at the table, right?
Right.
So I'd like to build a big. I'd like to build a big deck across the border and have a barbecue every day, and everybody's invited.
Yes, that's very Raj.
We can all get together and drink beer and barbecue all day. That sounds like more fun than anything, right? And have a
No.
good time.
That's a tandoori barbecue, right?
It's a tandoori barbecue. There you go. Tandoori barbecue.
Remember, I'd like to buy the world of Coke.
Oh yeah, that was a great song. That was a great
Yeah,
song.
that's a good one. Exactly. We bring that commercial back again. You know, so.
It'd be nice if people could just put everything aside and get together again for music's sake. And
Yeah.
you find you have more things in common.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to go see Stevie Nicks the other night, and
Nice.
oh my God, that was incredible. But I don't remember anybody in there saying, well, who do you vote for or anything. It was, man, can you believe she can still sing like an angel, you know?
Mhm.
Oh. The Roger
Yeah.
Waters show is the opposite of that.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was highly charged politically, and it was crazy. It was crazy. It was like, wow. It was
Really?
yeah. It was exactly the opposite of that. It wasn't gonna let you forget anything, you know, and so even at the very beginning, he was telling people if you don't,
I know
right?
people who walked out
Yeah,
Really?
people walk out. Yeah,
disappointed. Yeah. I was
yeah.
gonna keep my mouth shut, but that's what I heard from certain friends.
Well, I can
Interesting.
say it was kind of like that when I saw Ted Nugent too. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you know, maybe I don't know. It's hard to
Drake
tell.
motor mouth.
yeah.
People can do it with their power. It's a lot of power to wield, right? To wield, you know.
It is.
Well, even if I agree with someone politically, when I want to go listen to music or go watch a movie or go to a ball game, I want to get away from the world,
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
I agree. I've been caught off guard by some of my favorite musicians on stage just making an offhand comment, and it's like, whoa, what? And then suddenly I have to rethink what I think about that artist, and that's not cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
I get it if you're a Bob Dylan or, you know, something like that, and you are a politically charged musician, you're going to have your message on stage. But for the most part, I just want to leave all that behind and just go have a good time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's what everyone needs now. Everyone needs I think that, you know, like and maybe getting back to our album too, that's this, I think that we kind of stayed away from those kinds of things and those topics really, and wanted to give people some escapism with the
Yeah,
album.
it's more internal.
More personal stories, escapism, you know, finding out who you are, digging deep inside, you know, and listening to yourself, you know. We're not trying to give preach to anybody. It was more like personal stories, right, Brett? You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Personal stories, fantastic adventures that are half true, fictional and unfictional people who we may
yeah,
or may not know and may not be
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah,
To me, my goal anyway in life is to try to inspire and motivate people. And if you have a story to tell that can lift someone up instead of bring them down, that that is more powerful.
well,
That's
Amen.
my opinion.
that's great, and that's kind of like what we're trying. I think the album, what we're trying to do, right? Stories that lift people up and inspire them, and get them to think and think about these things, how valuable these artists are to our lives.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my motivation for music has always been wanting to, share that feeling that I get from music, because music has really meant something that's like a rock for me to hold on to in my life. So I've always thought if I can create something like that, then that would be meaningful, something that means something to people.
Yeah, that's a
It
good way
does, we've been
You're
doing
right.
this long enough that people, they come up to us and they say, I love this song and that meant so much to me, and thank you guys. And
Yeah,
the times that happens, it's just like,
yeah.
okay, I guess we better keep doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And
I
you want to,
mean, yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I get that similar feeling when someone messages me and
Mhm.
says, "Thank you for bringing so and so onto the show. They really inspired me to keep going on." I mean, people have been ready just to give up on life in general and end it all, and that one positive message kept them from doing something stupid.
yeah. No, that's fantastic. If we can do anything to help people, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
art, music, and
One moment can make a difference, can make a huge difference.
Have you ever got to a point in your career where you just kind of felt like giving up?
yeah,
Yeah.
you
I
do.
have.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, you go, the odds are against you, and you would, and like being play as a musician, until you've done something that people can acknowledge you as being whatever it is successful. People are pretty skeptical. People can be very skeptical and negative towards you trying. When me and Brett first we're trying.
We had nothing when we started.
Our our
No
wives and girlfriends
songs,
are
no
very,
albums, no
very,
recordings, no band.
very, they were people, yeah, right. We were getting a lot of negativity, and we just pushed through it. We decided not to let that affect us. Because they didn't even listen to what we were doing. And when they did, they were extremely surprised and then suddenly supportive. But at the beginning, there was a pushback, right? There was resistance to doing what you want to do, which is strange, because I think I would encourage people around me to do. I always encourage people, go for it,
Yeah,
try it,
yeah,
go for
sure.
it.
Both of us have had people close to us tell us, stop, just quit. And
Don't.
and that's a hurdle for sure, because you have to make some real hard decisions.
Yeah,
Is it the relationship, or is it um, the music?
yeah, your dreams, right? Doing what you love to do, and if the people don't understand that, then they're probably not the right people for you. They're not supposed to be there. If they don't understand that you need to do these things, then they're not the right people in your lives. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody. Is don't let the don't have those people around you who drag you down. And I think that's part of the Beautiful Losers ideology too, is just like, like we get together people that help each other, support system. And I think that the people around us have been very
Yeah,
supportive.
collaborate. We're big on collaboration. It's just it's the two of us. So sometimes we need collaborators to help fill in the spaces, the artwork, the videos.
Yeah,
A lot of other musicians we've had come and play on our CDs,
we've had
and
some
Wow.
we perform live too. So
really interesting people, a lot of interesting musicians we've worked with. I remember one guy we worked with, he was the original drummer for the E Street Band, Ernest Carter, right?
Oh, wow.
Carter, yeah,
And he co-wrote Born to Run, right, Brett? I think
yeah,
he played
yeah,
on
yeah.
Born to Run. And
He was great to play with. Wow.
Yeah,
amazing drummer.
yeah. Our bass player Angeline is playing with Todd Rundgren now, right? She's playing with Todd Rundgren. So we've had some like and stellar musicians we've worked with over the years that have played with us have done different things, and it's been really exciting, right, and fun, and to
That's
see
those
them
artistic
work with.
collaborations. We
Yeah,
get to-
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's been fun.
I find it very important to be very choosy when you let people into your circle. Now, don't get me wrong. I try to love everyone, and I'll help as many people as I possibly can. But as far as my close circle,
Mhm.
I've had to let some people out that, have been a part of my life for 40 years or more. And
Yeah,
it's sad, but like I say, you love them from afar.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a good
Well,
way of putting it. Yeah, love them from afar, and you don't need
there's
people dragging you down. I mean, what's the point?
sure,
So,
but you have to try to find out. It does, it does get messy. It does get chaotic. Raj was talking before about inclusivity, and it's fun, but it can be really messy too, because you never know what you're going to get. And especially one of our other ethos is that when we collaborate with someone, we don't want to tell them what to do. We want the performance to come out of them.
yeah.
But it has to work with what we're doing.
Oh, I got it. Selective inclusivity.
Like,
Sure.
see, but no, I mean,
You can use that. You can use that. You can use that.
That's right. But like Raj, buddy, that's part of your nature, though. You love to have that chaos. You thrive
Yeah,
on it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's part of the process. It's like opening it up and seeing what people do with it. And
Yeah,
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So of course we have to
yeah.
massage things so that they'll sound right in the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of chaos, man. I own a studio here. There's like a lot of chaotic musicians coming in here all the time, chaotic voice actors, people, all sorts of lots of stuff. Like it's interesting. It's it's interesting. You start to see, the I guess how people as how artists function on a daily basis, or how they malfunction rather on a daily basis. You're like, okay, they're all malfunctioning. How are we gonna get them to fire at the same time, and then do things to get how to work together? And I think that's something I'm always concerned and interested with is getting people to work together.
Mhm.
I think
Well,
that's in general, right? Yeah. So,
I can imagine it being a little intimidating though when you have someone like I said played with the E Street Band or with
yeah.
Todd Rundgren and tell them, well, I want you to do it like this, and that
Right.
that, that
Sure. Yeah.
like who am I?
Your feel's not quite right there. I think though he was one of those musicians where that wasn't really a question.
Yeah.
Everything worked.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think it's the better not always, but oftentimes the best musicians out there have learned to temper or let go of their ego and kind of think about what's best for the song. I tend to think that, the higher level people get to some degree, they get better, easier to work together, like when they have I guess we used to hate this word professional musician. I remember Brett used to hate this when people in the band said, we should be more professional. He's like, what is that? What does professional mean? But I guess to me, it means like letting go of your ego and doing what's best for the project or the song,
Mhm.
learning how to work with people on a high level. I think is professionalism, right? And I tend to think that some of the best musicians out there are also the coolest people, right? Not always, but often, right? Because they've gotten over that ego thing, and they're doing it because they love it, and so they can maybe take some direction, and work with other. That's my opinion anyway. Some of the best people out there.
I mean, you've seen time and time again when ego gets in the way, how that will destroy a perfectly good band.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So, do you guys have a
Uh,
website?
Um, We have got our, well, we actually prefer people to come to social media to check us out. Just join us on, we're old fashioned. We like Facebook still. So, I mean, that probably the best place to come and see us, as opposed to website. But I mean,
You can look at thebeautifullosers.net.
Yeah.
That will take you to a website that has some information about us.
Yeah.
We have a band camp also.
Mhm.
And Facebook. Yeah.
I think Facebook's great too, because we can interact and talk with people, friend us. We can chat with you. We can share information with you. Social media is always good place. And like I said, our sort of focus right now is going to be on Facebook and probably Instagram for the next little while to sort of keep in touch with people and spread the information, news about the releases and stuff. And so would be great. I think it's at Loser Music, Facebook at Loser Music, right? And people can join us there, and that'd be great. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, but it would be the Beautiful Losers, right, on Facebook.
No, it's, if you search Beautiful Losers, you'll find us. But I think our URL is facebook.com/losermusic.
Well, I can put the links in the description. That makes it easier for folks. But
It's all in the press release, so you can just look on there and you can get all that information for it.
And the email is AOL.com. I'm kidding.
yeah, there you go. And we've got like a MySpace page set up for all you real old fans out there.
I think my mom still has MSN.com for her email.
I saw somebody with AOL the other day. I was like, does that even work anymore? Does it work?
Hey, I've got people that still have Hotmail.
I said I want my Hotmail account back.
Hotmail, wow. Okay.
I stepped up into the world and got my Gmail. So,
Right.
Okay, there you go. You're advanced now.
I'm advanced.
You're a G.
I'm with the times. And the album is released on November 25th of this year. And
Yes, Black Friday.
Black Friday. Yeah. So and that will be available like at
Worldwide, all Amazon, Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music.
Yeah.
Wherever you listen to your music, yeah.
We'll have physical and digital, so you can get a physical copy of if you want to, if you feel like having a CD, something physical in your hands, you can get that from Bandcamp too, right? We can order a physical CD. Everything will be there on Bandcamp. We actually have a Christmas album that we recorded in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like 100 degrees out, and Brett and I are writing Christmas songs. And we recorded a Christmas album in Japan. So if you buy the new album, San Francisco, we're going to set it up so that you can get the Christmas album as a free download with the album when it comes out. So you get the Christmas album, and you can get the new album. We'll get the Christmas album for free with the new album. I guess it's going to be on Bandcamp, right? We're getting that set up. So November 25th, come buy them both on Black Friday and get 2 for 1. It's a 2 for 1. It's a 2 for 1 on Black Friday. And where the Christmas album's cool, it's an interesting original Christmas music and a few covers on there too.
Yeah.
What are the covers?
Wham!
That has Happy Christmas on it. Then it has Wham. It has John Lennon.
Yeah, John Lennon and George Michael's. Who else?
Combination.
And
Are
at
there any
Bandcamp.
covers? That's it. I think those are the only 2 covers on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this one time at Bandcamp. I'm kidding. I can't say that on here. Guys, it has been absolutely awesome having you on the show, and I can't thank you enough for your time. And I look forward to the release. I mean, I do have a digital copy of the album, but I can't share it. So
Okay.
But I will put the links up for the folks, and
Friend us on Facebook. We'll keep in touch with you. Okay.
definitely. And anytime y'all have anything going on, you want to come back on the show, you're more than welcome.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Of course.
And we'll see if maybe we can get some referrals for you too for more interviews.
That would be out of this world. to say the least. You
Cool.
put a couple of cool cats, man.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it, man.
And I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you happen by and this is your first time, well, I hope you'll come back despite my performance. No, but seriously, hit that subscribe button. I hope you'll come back. For those of you who are my regulars, I thank you because it's because of you that I get to do this. So until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.